Hello everyone. My name is Lee Anderson. I'm the migration lawyer from No Borders Law Group called NB Migration Law. Can anyone hear me well, or is anything need to change? Otherwise, I will just start. You can speak with me on the, I think we have a chat box. If you have any question during the webinar, or you have things you want me to emphasize and give more detail, you can communicate with me through the chat box, and I will reply to you either during the webinar or at the end of the webinar. There's a question time. I can help you with all the questions. Okay, if it's all good, let's start. So firstly, I just have a quick introduction for who we are. The whole company we call No Borders Law Group. We have 4 parts. We provide legal service for commercial law, employment law, property law, and migration law. So our founder, Agnes, she's come from Hungary about 30 years ago, and she set up the business, and now is over 27 years. She is migrant from Hungary, so she has her own life experience, how she settled in Australia and migrant to here. And since then, she has started to assist other people, the migrant, to come to Australia and live and work and enjoy the life here. So we will provide all 4 parts of legal service. Today, I'm mainly talking about migration law. It's talking about migration law related to the healthcare sector. So if you are a business owner, you might have a business, or you are interested for your business to going to sponsor overseas worker come to work in Australia, especially in the healthcare sector, that will be the good meeting for you. You can have this kind of information and knowledge. Of course, if you have any inquiry about detail, how this work, how you can sponsor the overseas worker, or sponsor the one who already work for you, maybe they work for you on student visa or other temporary visa, but you intend to keep them work for you for longer time, can commit to your business for a long time, contribute more, or maybe they will have a chance to become permanent resident in Australia in the future. You can consider to sponsor them on the sponsored visa. That's what we're going to talk about today. So in Australia, there's a big demand for aged care worker. Part of the reason because our population is aged very quickly very soon. And there's a statistic figures you can say by 2026-3, and aged person can increase from 17 to 23.5%. That means there's quite lots of people aged, probably include me and you at a time, after another 20, 30, 40 years. So that's a big demand for we have the aged care worker or related, like nurses as well, work in the industry to support the aged Australian. Apart from the aged care, and also have other shortage in the healthcare sectors, like we need lots of nurses, especially after the COVID. We can see there's a big demand in the healthcare sector about nurses, about midwife, about doctors. So this all shows there's a big demand in Australia for healthcare sector workers. They are the occupation on the list, which is we call critical demand. you can see there's a registered nurse, enrolled nurse, aged care worker. I don't have to give you all these details, but you can see there are the occupation. We are on a shortage right now in Australia, which is we intend to have this help from overseas worker. The skilled worker, if they have already worked in this industry or they have this education or working experience, we'll welcome them to migrate to Australia as a temporary to work at here, to make life here, or if you do like live in Australia, you can become permanent resident through this skilled sponsorship. What is the visa options for people going to sponsor them to come to Australia? There are several. Most people might heard is a visa called 482, called skilled in demand visa. So every year we will publish the occupation list, compare with the economic need and economic development. So the government will change the occupation list to reflect what is the shortage right now on the market. So right now we have this occupation list is contain about 400 occupations in all areas. Excuse me. So the people who from overseas have those skills on this occupation, they are allowed to migrate in Australia with this visa called skill in demand 482. So that's most of the people migrant to Australia as a skilled worker use this one. So they will require you to have a certain level of education and many years, depend on occupation need. It can be 1 year, can be a little bit longer years working experience. And there's another one for people or business holding in the regional area called regional area visa 494. So they are very much similar to 482. The only difference is if your business hold in the regional area, because people might understand not everyone like go to the regional area. Lots of people like to stay in Sydney, in Melbourne, in Brisbane, in a big city. So they compare with a big city, the regional area have high demand for the skilled worker. So if the business is operated in the regional area, the government tend to give you more concession conditions to sponsor people go to the regional area. One is more occupation. Some occupation is not valid for 482, but it's valid for 494. And also they have a concession for the level of the skill and the level of the education. The occupation might slightly different, the requirement might slightly different. If you do want to know detail about particular occupation, what is the demand, what is the requirement for this occupation, and how the process work for this visa application, you either can contact us after the meeting with our sales team, or contact, there's a contact number in our website. You can have a free consultation with one of our lawyers. They can explain to you with more detail. For people who do love and spend the time in Australia and they want to become permanent resident, there's a pathway for them to stay here permanently. So you can through called employer nominate visa 186 to become a permanent resident in Australia. There's a two ways you can become permanent resident through this sponsored visa. One, you can work as a 482 visa for 2 years, and after 2 years, then you can transfer to become a permanent resident. It's called transaction 186. Or if you are overseas worker, but you are so high skill and you have passed the skill assessment to show the level of the skill and education you have is equivalent to Australian standard, then you might can directly use the visa 186 to become permanent resident even without working in Australia. So this is also a pathway to become permanent resident. Others is for people who are overseas or maybe here. They might hold a temporary visa, they might hold student visa, they might hold 482 visa, but they want to become permanent resident without a sponsor company. Then they can do submit EOI to apply the visa called 189. There's several visa called 189, 190, and 491, which is open for people, skilled worker, who do not have a sponsor, which is if you are, our audience today is a company want to sponsor, this is the one they don't need you sponsor, they can apply by themselves, just to submit the EOI. So that's probably not ideally for you who has a business want to sponsor, but it's also a pathway for the skilled worker to become permanent resident in Australia. For those who are in the regional area, there's other ways you can become hire people work in Australia or help them become permanent resident. So we are going to introduce labor agreement. So what is the labor agreement? So you might have a little bit of idea just now what I say. So you can sponsor foreign worker come to Australia and work. Your business may be held in Sydney or maybe held in the regional area. You can go through the normal procedure like 482 or 186 or 494, 491 to become work in Australia. You can sponsor them. There's another way called labor agreement. So what is labor agreement? We just say the normal 482 is sponsor people who are below 48 years old, who have the skill and the level we required. But for some people who are older than 45 years old, but they're still very much skilled worker, especially in lots of areas, they have been working in the industry maybe over 20 years. They are very much skilled worker and they very much want to stay in Australia and become permanent resident. So for those people, or some people, they are skilled worker, but the occupation is not on the normal 482 list. Like I said, the 482, we have occupation list maybe 400 above occupation, but some of lower level of skilled worker is not on the list. For example, we call aged care worker. They are not on the list for normal 482, but it's a big demand for our aged care center. We need some people who have the skill, especially we have some clients, they come from Philippines. They speak good English. They do have the skill to look after elder Australians, and they might work for you for, hold a student visa, work for you maybe a couple months or maybe a year, and they are very much good on the work they do, so you want to keep them. But their education level and their skill level cannot match the normal 482 standard requirement. Then you might can go through a labor agreement. The labor agreement is particular industry. Today we're talking about aged care. There's several industries can have already reached agreement with the Commonwealth's Department of Home Affairs. Today we're particularly talking about aged care. So there's an aged care labor agreement, which is just opened 2 or 3 years ago because the big demand for aged care area. So in this area, you can reach agreement with the department to bring a little bit lower skilled worker to come work for you. This is called labor agreement. For regional area, apart from the labor agreement, we have another type of labor agreement called Diagnosed Area Migration Agreement. We call DAMA. So DAMA is also a labor agreement. They offer a wider range of occupation. Some occupation you cannot find on normal 482, but you can find on the DAMA area. For example, I'm just give an example like a barista who are making coffee at a coffee shop, right? You cannot sponsor them if you have a business in Sydney, because where in Sydney is not called regional area. But you can go and work in the Northern Territory, because barista, this occupation is on the DAMA program on the Northern Territory. So those people can go to the regional area and still be sponsored and become temporary worker or permanent resident in the future. So that's different labor agreement. Here, there's a type of labor agreement. I give you a little bit more. So the type of labor agreement is what we have is industry specified labor agreement. This is the one what we're going to talk is about the aged care industry. Apart from the aged care, just for your knowledge, we have other labor agreement, industry labor agreement is on fishing, meat, on hair. Just to give an example, you know, every day you go to a supermarket, you buy fish, you buy chicken, you buy all kind of meat. So you know there's a meat worker who work in the factory help us to work on that. So lots of occupation, probably our local Australian don't want to work out there. Then we need some worker come from overseas work in this industry. So for people cutting meat, you know, prepare fish or fishing, they are kind of level of skill, but it's not a highly demand skilled worker. So for those, we have to call industry specified labor agreement, which is for people in this area, the business in this area, they can use this agreement to bring a low skilled worker from overseas work in their factory. So that's just say one of the industry special labor agreement. Another one which we're going to talk in today is about aged care. I will give more detail of that. There's another type of labor agreement called company specified labor agreement. So if you want to hire a summer occupation, but it's not on the normal 482 list. I'm giving you an example. For example, truck driver. All right, truck driver. So we don't have truck driver on the normal 482 occupation. Even the occupation is over 400. This one doesn't include because we believe there's still a lower skilled. But in some particular area or industry, they do need a lot of truck driver. So therefore, you either can go through industry labor agreement or company specified labor agreement, which is you company negotiate directly with the Department of Home Affairs to want to bring truck driver into your business, for example. If the department agree with you, then you will reach the labor agreement with them. Then you can start to hire the lower skilled truck driver come to work for you. So that's called company specified labor agreement. It's particular only for you, company. Then the second one is industry. That means they will cover the whole industry, which is already reached agreement. So you don't need to reach agreement with them. The agreement is already reached between the Commonwealth Department of Home Affairs and the industry. So what you just need to apply is for you company can use this labor agreement. The labor agreement condition and the terms is already fixed there. You cannot change. For the company specify, you can always negotiate. I might need the salary at this low, or I might need a concession on the English. So you can negotiate with the Department of Home Affairs. Of course, it not means what do you want the Department of Home Affairs will give to you. So that probably high risk for company specified labor agreement be declined. We don't call refuse, but like I said, they probably don't agree with you. They decline you the requirement for the labor agreement. But for the industry specified labor agreement, because the condition is already there, you have to agree with them. It's difficult to negotiate with the department. So this one, once you are in this industry, you can show there's a shortage for you to hire a local to fill up the occupation, then most of this labor agreement can be granted. So that's the benefit for that. You are easily can get grant compared with company specified labor agreement. Okay, we give more detail talking about aged care. So aged care is industry labor agreement, which is already have the agreement. So you understand for you, you're going to sponsor the occupation. There's only related occupation and here. You can see the 3 occupation: nursing support worker, personal care assistant, aged or disability care. So any overseas worker, they are job title and day 3, and you are the company in the aged care sector, then you can hire overseas worker and work for you. Of course, there's other requirement for them. They need to have their English, they need to have a 1 year full-time experience or equivalent. For example, someone maybe hold a student visa, they only work 24 hours per week, 48 hours per fortnight. That means 1 year full-time will be equivalent to 2 years part-time. That means if they hold student visa work for you for 2 years part-time, and then they have certain level of English, there's an English requirement, and then they have a certain level of education. You can sponsor them to under a labor agreement, aged care. That means they can work for you for 4A2 visa for up to 4 years. And also, there's a pathway to become permanent resident. If they work for you for 2 years and you're still waiting to sponsor them, and they can apply become permanent resident, we call PR, 1A6 visa. After 2 years, they hold 4A2 visas. So some of them may be thinking, hey, I'm not an aged care center. I'm a disability care. I'm an NDIS. Can NDIS apply for aged care industrial labor agreement? Because we also have the labor shortage. We need a lot of care. We have lots of NDIS disability patient, and they need support. If I say directly, I would say no, because there's 2 different areas, which is one is disability care, one is aged care. But it's not, how to say, no directly. Because we have big demand for aged care, there's a lot of NDIS provider who also provide aged care. That means in their place, they might have 2 departments. One is aged care, which is they are just a new add-on, or one is a disability care. So maybe, for example, you are an NDIS provider. You might be working on this industry for many years. You own the business, you have the patient, you look after them. If you just use your current business in this way to apply for aged care labor agreement, you get refused or declined because you're not satisfied. You're not really an aged care. But I do have a client who were a disability care NDIS provider. Because the big demand for aged care, they start having aged care. Just to start, they start to sign a contract with other aged care nursing home. They provide some service for them, and they start to negotiate with the government to open a new sector. So for this one, I also help them to get this labor agreement granted, and very quickly. Yes, they were NDIS provider, provide disability care, but because they are start to promote their business to aged care, they already have 1 or 2 contracts signed with other aged care provider. They will provide the service. Because the big demand of the aged care, so the department still grant them for the aged care worker. So my client was granted, at the time, they just need 5 aged care, disability care or aged care worker every year. So my client granted 5 years. Each year they can sponsor 5 overseas worker. They can be aged care, they can be a nurse support worker, they can be personal care assistant. That's the good example to show even you are NDIS provider, you can still go through aged care and might get grant if you intend or already start a business with aged care. So that's a good example for you to think if you're going to promote your business to aged care, that's the way you can do. They are the eligibility and the process for the aged care labor agreement. These slides, we believe we will send to you, or you can require them from our sales team, so you can see all these, the procedures, how we do it. if you're really interested in that, our lawyer or sales team can give you detail how the procedure processed. So usually you need to get a memorandum of understanding from one or more of industry union, which is we will help you for this. We will contact with the union, present you demand for the labor agreement, and if they're happy to assess you is eligible, they will issue the MOU letter. With this letter, you can apply the labor agreement directly to the Department of Home Affairs. Of course, if you do sign us with a client, as a lawyer, we will get you each step and help you each step to get to the labor agreement and get approved. So for my experience, because the big demand, so the processing time right now is very quick for the aged care. We have done several, I have done many of labor agreement because this one is high demand. Recently, the ground processing time is only take probably around 1 to 2 months to run the aged care. It's very quick. So that means from department side, they promote this labor agreement for aged care because of big demand of the market. This is another labor agreement called on hire. So this one is not really used for health care character, but can be used as another way. So what is on hire means? Just now what we're talking about labor agreement is aged care. Labor agreement is you are aged care center, right? You are a nursing home. That's why you use it. But if it's not, I'm not nursing home, I don't provide aged care, but I am a recruitment company. So what you can help? Yes. You understand recruitment company, they open to all occupations. They hire you. You might be an overseas worker. I hire you, come to Australia, you work under me. You sign a contract with me, but I will send you to all the clients in Australia. They can be send you to the aged care worker as an aged care worker, or can send you to other industry. You might work on the construction. If you are a welder, you are a plumber. You are a trade occupation. You can work for there. So on hire is also a labor agreement, which is used by the recruitment company. If you can reach the agreement with the Department of Home Affairs on the labor agreement, you can hire overseas worker come to Australia to work in the Australian business. They can be covered all kind of business. The occupation has to be on the list, which is I had told you there's over 400 occupation on the list. So on hire labor agreement, they can hire any occupation from overseas. It is we call a limit for how many you can hire every year. So usually, if you don't reach some specified agreement with the department, it's 20 every year. But if you are big HR recruitment company, you do specify need, you can increase the number from 20 to maybe 30 or maybe 40 or more each year. So they all depend on the agreement you reach with the Department of Home Affairs. So this is the one called on hire labor agreement. So it's one of the industry labor agreement, but you can hire aged care worker or related to healthcare industry worker, like a nurse and doctor, all include. Okay, so what is the benefit for labor agreement? So we understand in Australia, for the economy to be continue grow well, we need a skilled worker, right? We don't have a much Australian worker here, part reason because we don't have lots of people in Australia. So for us to keep the economy continue growth, we need a skilled worker. So the labor agreement can help you secure a long-term employee. One of the reasons because not every company reach to labor agreement. So some company reach the labor agreement. So if someone you are hired under labor agreement, of course, the employee always have, they are reason said, hey, I'm not happy work for you anymore. I work for you for a year, but I want to move on. Of course, immigration law is one of the law. We also have employment law, which is people can change their job. For someone who are overseas worker, work for us, they said, hey, I'm not happy work for you. I want to find another company. Yes, they can move to another company. Right now, the department to give the visa condition is 180 days. They can find another sponsor to move to another sponsor because they are sponsored visa. They have to find a sponsor to continue work in Australia. The 180 days, there's a limit for them to move on. Why we call labor agreement can secure long-term employee? Part of the reason is, first, the labor agreement is not easy to reach with the Department of Home Affairs. So for someone who work for you under labor agreement, if they said, hey, I want to move on, find another employer, it's difficult for them to find another employer under labor agreement because they will hire under labor agreement. So if they're going to find another sponsor, that sponsor have to have a labor agreement with the Department of Home Affairs. So it's difficult for them to find it compared with normal 482. Secondly, because the labor agreement do give a large range of occupation, so that means you can hire some people with a lower skill but high demand in Australia, which is not covered by normal 482 visa. The requirement for their skill qualification will be the lower to the normal 482 visa applicant, but they might have a high demand on you area industry, which will definitely help you business. Also, flexible working mobility visa condition often allow worker to be deployed as different state or role with your company. Okay, this is the thing is, when we apply normal 482 visa, they will ask you where is the location that people work. You might have a business in Sydney, right? Some people maybe open another business in another state or another area, and when you want to transfer them, they are like a limit for you to transfer them work in different area. But right now, for the labor agreement, as long as you have a company, we call maybe parent company, reach the labor agreement with the Department of Home Affairs, then you can transfer the worker work in the different location, because you might have different office in different area, especially for the aged care or disability care. They might have each suburb, they might have an office. Then you can transfer your worker work in a different area if that's needed for the business. So that's quite flexible for you to arrange for their working location. And also, there's another benefit for labor agreement is about how much you're going to pay the salary. Because the labor agreement, you can reach agreement or concession of their payment. Everyone understand for currently the 482 visa, the minimum requirement pay is 76,515. 76,515. So that's the minimum salary you pay a visa holder 482 with a normal 482 visa. The labor agreement, you can negotiate, have a concession for the pay. So the salary can be much lower than the normal labor agreement and normal 482. I just give an example for we just got approved recently for the aged care. I remember the salary was, I'm just saying my memory is 52,500. Compare with 76,515 is much lower. That means as a business owner, you don't have to pay the standard 482 visa salary. You can pay a lower salary rate. You can still have the worker work for you. That will definitely help for your business cost. Another way is, of course, you have this skilled worker come work for you, and they might have the skill they bring from overseas, and they might can help you to train your local worker, train the Australian worker. So that will definitely help you to promote your business, have a more skilled worker work for you. So that's also another benefit for have aged care or disability care or nurses support worker work on this aged care industry. There's another information about qualified nurses. We understand that we need lots of nurses. We also need lots of doctors in the healthcare sector in Australia. It's not about aged care or disability care. All kind of medical industry in Australia will need nurses and doctors. So for us to bring the skilled worker come to Australia, especially for nurses, we have a streamlined pathway for nurses can be registered in Australia and can carry on their work in Australia. So that is a detail to show our government has streamlined processing procedures for overseas nurses to register in Australia. So they can pass our skill assessment to become a registered nurse in Australia and work for this industry. If you would like to know more detail, you can contact our sales team, or we have a free consultation with our lawyer, and they can give you more detail on how we can help you for the registered nurse migrant to Australia. For our many years of working experience in the migration industry, we definitely can help you go through all kind of the visa requirement, or normal 482, or sponsorship, or labor agreement, or DAMA labor agreement, or on-hire labor agreement, to try to help you to bring qualified skilled worker to come Australia to work in this industry. We put this aged care industry talk today is mainly because they're quite new to Australia, and we have a big demand in the future. So if you do need any help or explanation to clarify how we work with you for this, you can contact our sales team or contact our migration lawyer directly from our website, and we will guide you step by step, assist you to reach the end, to help you to find a right worker work for you and help our economy. If you want more information, you can scan the QR code and book with us a 30 minutes consultation. We can help you with more detail. Any questions, please contact our sales team or directly to our migration lawyer. We will here to help you. Thank you. Bye-bye.